did y'all come to work together?
Um, do you want the book or just in general?
In general.
I reached out to Colin with an idea for a production company that would allow creators to have more input on how their projects were adapted for film and television, and he liked the idea, and we've been working together ever since. It's been since like late 2017, early 2018.
It feels like a lot longer.
Oh yeah.
He kind of look. He cold called me with this idea. Like we'd never met, we'd never talked, and I don't know what I was thinking on the day he called, but I I went ahead along with this idea. I noticed I have a vision board because I'm one of those people that comes up with, let me do my vision board. And I noticed, and I was looking back at one, and there's a note that says, "What the hell? Let's do it." And I guess that's what I was thinking the day he called.
I just got lucky. He's like, "Let
Yes.
me hear some bat crazy idea," and I'll just agree with anything at this point, just on this particular day, and
Maybe,
the rest
maybe.
is history.
Well, it's great that it worked out for you too.
Well, that's still being determined.
Well, Heath is one of those guys. He's a big idea guy, and and I like that. I like to kind of surround myself with people who are big idea people, even though sometimes those big ideas are too big for me, and I have to like, all right, calm down. Let's take it easy. But I do like being around people that have those who are willing to take big swings.
Right, right. So tell me how Long Haul came to be.
It was inspired by a documentary I'd seen on long haul killers. Um, the very opening of it kind of blew me away that there are actively 300 serial killers at any given time across the United States highways. And then, you'd hear stories about like Israel Keys, who was traveled for work and would just bury like what he called murder kits completely at random and come back later on, years later sometimes, dig them up and just go to someone's house randomly and take them out. Like there's so many stories around serial killers that travel the country like that. And we wanted to tell a story kind of in that subgenre and base it around this really tight knit family, this blue collar family.
Right, right. That's creepy. That it makes me want to just stay at the house and watch TV,
Right?
honestly.
Yeah, that's Heath called me again. He called me with this. He's like, "Let me tell you about this documentary I watched." And
Maybe you should change your number.
I know. Well, I'll do that later. And just I think that statistic when he told me that it was very it was kind of eye opening. But I grew up in the era of you know, my dad, I have uncles who were truck drivers. My dad was a CB radio enthusiast and a traveling salesman. So I was always, I kind of grew up in an era surrounded by that. And then, of course, there were great movies like Convoy and Duel and things like that I grew up, watching. So as soon as he told me about this documentary and told me that statistic and the kernel of that idea, it just kind of blossomed into, it just kept growing into a really kind of cool, strange, and kind of vicious and brutal story.
Vicious and brutal is a good description of that. Yeah. But I liked it. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I read it twice. So
Wow, thank you.
that's saying something. But yeah, they say that like everybody, meets at least one serial killer in their lifetime. They come in contact with them. And that is a scary thought. And when you take that idea and you put it with, a sibling, when it starts to impede in, a family, that's even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like that. that say, I don't like the idea that everybody has met at least or has met at least one serial killer. That's troubling to me.
Yeah, 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 it is. And but your story is it's so interesting, and while yes, it's brutal, which of course there's nothing wrong with that, but it's it's just the way it all unfolds is such great storytelling, and
Well,
it's
I
thank you.
especially.
mean,
Oh, sorry.
that's amazing to hear. Thank you very much. I mean, that's the one thing that every writer wants to hear when it comes to a story, that you put out there to the world, because you can send it to your friends, and hopefully they won't placate you and they'll tell you how you really feel, but getting it out there to absolute strangers, like, there's nothing better that you can hear in response than what you just said.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really, I enjoy it, and it's, we've all heard stories about serial killers and all that, but it kind of came from a different direction. I mean, it's about the classic serial killers and groups hunting people, but at the same time, it's a fresh idea. It came from a fresh direction, and I appreciated that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it like I said, it all started with Heath's initial those initial conversations, and then just building it, and the idea. I don't know who said. I'm pretty sure it was Heath said, let's make it a pair of brothers who are dealing with some family issues and having are facing this these serial killers, and then we built in this sort of network, this network of serial killers that are long haul truckers, um which from a from like the rule of cool factor, that was fun for me, just to have like this network of killers, and each one was very different and had a different MO and a different approach and a very weird take on murder that made it a lot of fun for me.
Right, right. Now did the brothers just kind of come out of thin air? Were they an idea, or are they kind of inspired by someone?
um I am always a fan of like the character that we built up Danny to be. Like those bigger guys that are a little bit simple, or like overly nice, and you would expect him to be this huge teddy bear, right? But he could also completely just tear somebody's limbs off and beat him to death with it if he had to. But like John Coffey from Green Mile is like a perfect example of that. Like this huge dude that you expect to be this monster, and he ends up being this guy that has everyone that watched that movie like crying their eyes out by the end of it. So Danny was really important as far as like that kind of character trait, and then you needed someone to play off of him and be kind of like the more strategic, intellect, the guy that can strategize and put all the pieces together. So we gave him his brother Carl, and we think that they really play well off each other.
They do.
Yeah, I don't think that neither of them are based on any like one person, but most characters that I write are like bits and pieces of people I've met over time.
Mhm.
Wow, that's great. And I have to wonder, is there going to be another issue?
You'd have to ask the publisher that. Like,
Well, I mean, we would certainly, I think there, as with anything, it's a world that I think we could expand and do more stories in that world. It all depends on the reception of the book, and that's you know, everybody. It's always the question I get with most comics I do is, is this an ongoing series? Are there going to be more? And I'm like, it really that depends on on how well people react to it, how well the book does. So it's hard for us to say. Do we want to do more? Sure. I think we'd I'm speaking for Heath here, but I think we'd do more for sure.
well, I mean, I think we also need to figure out who survives, right? Given how we
Yeah,
end the book, and who can carry the story on also. But Cullen did have a brilliant Easter egg at the end of the book, that a lot of people seem to love that have had a chance to read it. And anyone that picks it up will understand exactly what I'm talking about, that could help kind of expand upon the story.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
a few minutes ago, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
I was
sorry.
just saying, the potential's there. Let's say.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, a few minutes ago, y'all mentioned, TV and film. It would really make a great show, and you could expand on it. So I'm just putting that out there. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I mean it's I think there definitely could be potential for something like this. I think it's got legs. I mean, our goal with it, first and foremost, and really this is the goal with everything we do and everything I do, is I want it to be a good story, a good comic, and I wanted it to stand on its own two legs first. But yeah, it would. I think it would be kind of cool to see some of these characters brought to life.
Definitely get it, have that kind of Reacher and meets Dexter vibe to it. That would be great.
Oh yeah, when I first started watching Reacher, I was like, oh Heath, this is the guy that we need. This guy's like perfect. This is the
Yeah,
this is the giant of a human being that we need to play
yeah.
one of our brothers.
Alan Richson is Danny. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd vote for it.
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
And that's a great comp too. Those two shows together would definitely be perfect for that.
oh, yeah.
Especially because the way Reacher thinks is very much along the lines of how Carl thinks, kind of just thrown into Danny's body.
It'd be good. It'd be a great combination. I have to ask, what else do y'all have cooking up?
Um, Colin should mention Beyond Mortal. I'm personally excited for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've got numerous irons in numerous fires, and most of them have a hint of horror, at least a little bit of horror tied into it. So, a few things. I'm looking over at my board, so make sure I don't miss anything. So they just this week we announced that I have a horror novel coming out next year, titled "Bones of Our Stars, Blood of Our World." So that's coming out from Gallery Books next year, and I can't say a lot about it because it's one of those books that I feel like once I spoil it, it's one of those stories that I worry about because it's got like a big, there's some big surprises in it. And I'm really worried when it comes out that those surprises are going to get spoiled really quick for people who haven't read it. But that comes out, prose novel. So that comes out next year. And then this year, as Heath just mentioned, the big thing that I mean, there's a lot of projects I'm excited about, but on the horror front, the big thing that I'm excited about is this book that's coming out from Dark Horse called Beyond Mortal. And that's a sort of a superhero meets elder gods concept, but it establishes a superhero world that is very horror centric. So there are a lot of horror elements to it. We've already got spin-off series planned out for it. So it's really establishing a new superhero world for the horror fan. So that comes out in the first trade paperback comes out in July. And before that, we're going to be doing some online stuff, putting out some free comics online and things like that to really get people excited about it. So that one's there. And then of course, it's hard to say. Long Haul is right around the corner now, which
Yeah.
we've been working on it for so long. It's hard to believe it's about to be here.
Right. Well, I think people are going to love it. It's so many different genres. Fans could find something they love about it. I mean, between the true crime aspect and between, the violence and the story driven, you know, mission for family.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much to love about it. And the art's great
That,
too.
Yeah,
yeah.
the art's awesome. We should really mention that because Storm King actually recommended Andrea to us. We didn't come to them with an artist attached, but I'm almost certain that Heath and I had conversations before they came to us, and I said, "Hey, this guy Andrea Moody might be the right choice for this book." And then it's like we manifested it into reality because that's who Storm King called us with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
he's
lot of
great.
talent there.
He's just really good at making things a realistic world, which is important for this, but he doesn't shy away from sort of the gritty and the violent aspects. And there's something about his style that just has like a dreamlike quality too that I feel like just works really well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It really is.
Thank you.
We also have comic book projects coming up with some people that we admire in the Hollywood aspect of things. We have books with Katie Sackhoff from Mandalorian, Kristen Kruk from Smallville, Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live, and the new Ryan Reynolds movie If. That we're really looking forward to. That's through our Hustle and Heart Films company. And that we're constantly expanding upon those types of projects as well. They are comic book projects, and we are excited to work with these people in this medium because we get to bring people that we admire into the medium that we love. And then if anything else happens, then that's great on top of that, obviously. But these books are books that we're really excited about.
Right. I can't wait to see them. There's some great names involved there.
And they're everything that you would want them to be. They're all really cool, down to earth, great people. Bobby, when he was pitching us his idea, he had us laughing because he was basically acting it out. So, that was a lot of fun. And I've been a huge fan of Kristen since Smallville, so it's like 25 years at this point. So to be working with someone like that, you still got to ask if this is actually happening. It's because it seems surreal. And then Katie and her husband Robin have been great to collaborate with. So we're excited, and we think people are really going to love those projects.
I think so too.
Sure.
Now, I assume y'all have a website for all of your books and collections, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the best place to find out more about my work and find my books and get connected to everything is cullenbunn.com. And from there, I do a weekly newsletter in which I probably disclose more information than I should every week. But you can get there from my webpage, and I do videos, and I talk about horror movies and horror in general. But you can get to all of that from cullenbunn.com.
Don't get the trivia.
Yeah, and there's trivia. Well, there's trivia there. There's a little bit of everything.
That's great. There's always more to learn.
Right.
As far as Hustle and Heart stuff and my work, Instagram is probably the best place, at Heath Amodio on Instagram. I started another account with my name, and I don't have access to that, so that's why the period's in there.
I think we all have locked accounts on social media that we've lost the passwords to.
Exactly. But since billionaire ruined Twitter, it's pretty much just Instagram for the most part.
I got you. I understand. So if y'all had to describe Long Haul, and let's see, 5 words, what would they be?
Visceral, dynamic, bloody, family, and high octane with a hyphen.
Cheat. That's sort of a cheat. Sort of a cheat. And I would just say, I was counting it in my mind. If you saw me thinking, I'm like, oh, let me see how many words I have. A convoy of serial killers. And I think
that was
yeah.
That was a good quote for the book for sure. We also should mention at Storm King Comics on X and Instagram as well for information about the book, and stormkingcomics.com as well.
Sure.
So, and just having the book there was a great experience. They're great people to work with. Sandy and Sean have been fantastic. And the fact that you are doing something in any kind of relation to John Carpenter when it comes to horror, I mean, that's something to geek out over in and of itself, right? So,
sure.
That it's an honor to have a book coming out through them, and we're excited that everybody seems to be really enjoying it so far.
Right. Well, like I said, it's fantastic. I'm sorry, my dog keeps hitting the table, and I'm like trying to steer her away. So
I
just
have an I have an army of cats circling my legs right now, so it's okay. I'm just
yeah, I got a couple of those too.
If the dog's got any questions,
Yeah.
the biggest fan of dogs. So
Rosie, you got anything you want to ask? But yeah, that's great. And like I said, I really enjoyed the book, and I think the art's great. It's just something great to have in any collection. Like I
Well,
said, no
thank you.
matter what genre you kind of lean towards, it's got something, and that's great.
thank you.
Yeah, it
That
means a
means
lot.
the world. Thank you very much.
And if there just happened to be, I don't know, a show pop up with a very tall, very strong built man, I would complain.
We'll see what we can do.
We'll make it happen, right?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.